Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today. Today we're on video number 6, conditional formatting. We're going to dedicate a whole video to this due to its importance and and very fruitful outcomes. So without further ado, I just want to explain the data really quick. This is a sales sheet for a bookstore. ISBN is each different unique book. Sale is how much we sold it for. Criticality is an internal. Nothing really important. Rating is the user's rating on the book, 1 through 5. Stock level is how much of the book we have left. And cash is just if they paid true or false with cash. So we went over, formatting. Formatting is changing the color, the font, the alignment of a cell. And we went over an if statement. Essentially, if a condition is met, then do something. If not, then don't do anything. So we combine these two things, and we say, hey, in this subset of data, if a condition is met, apply a certain formatting rule to that subset. So we can identify, certain trends very visually. So I'll show you the first example of conditional formatting. We're going to do highlight cell rules. And essentially we want to find any book that we sold for over $8. So we'll go to the greater than rule. What we have here is comparative values. So we have, greater than, less than, between, equal to, if the text contains, if the date occurs, or if there are duplicate values. So we're going to do identify any books over $8. You can change the formatting. You can change the fill, the border, the font, and how the text is displayed. I'm just going to go with light red, with dark red text. And these are all the books that sold for over $8. Alright, what if we want to do another highlight cell rule? What if we want to highlight text that contains? So essentially, we want to find every ISBN of this nature. So what conditional formatting does is it will look in the whole range and it will highlight every ISBN that matches that. Super quick. You don't have to comb through data anymore. As you can see, it quickly identifies any duplicates. So we'll pick this ISBN for now. Alright, so we already have 2 rules on our sheet. If the ISBN equals this, and for any books greater than $8. Now we can do top 10 and bottom 10 rules. So what we can do is we'll select our stock level, we'll conditional format, in our top 10 items, or top 10 stock, we can also do percentages, will be highlighted. And we'll highlight this with green, because that's good. If something is of high stocking level, that means we are ready for the demand. And now we can apply another one for the bottom 10 items, and we'll make these ones red. So as you can see, we now have red and green. Green would be the top 10 items for, based on stocking level, and red would be the lowest stocked items. Alright, just to clean up our sheet, we're going to delete all our rules. So how we do that is we go to clear rules, and clear rules from the entire sheet. Now we want to show you data bars. That is very useful with numbers, especially if they're in percent form. What we can do is we go into the data bar menu, and there's 2 options. Gradient fill starts at a darker color and kind of fades off into a lighter color of that. And solid fill is consistent all the way through. I tend to go to solid fill. I don't like, room for interpretation. I'd rather just be a nice solid fill. And no one can really get confused on where the bar ends. We also have color scales. If you've ever heard of a heat map, it kind of shows a distribution of data through color really easily. So essentially we'll do a red scale, and we can say, hey, the bottom values will be red. We can switch that to the top values being red. And that's actually really important, because right now we want to highlight which books are getting bad ratings. So this conditional formatting quickly gives us a scope of what books we need to identify and maybe even improve or change the marketing strategy. I'm going to clear these rules just so we have a new sheet, blank slate. In the last stock pre-made formatting rule we could use is icon sets. I use these typically for ratings. Exactly in this case, this is a 5 scale rating right here. It goes from 3 to 5. You can use them for directionals. So if you have a spreadsheet of stocks, and if stocks are moving up and down, some are staying flat, this is perfect. Even this would be a good case for that. So we're going to apply this icon set right here, and it corresponds perfectly with our 1 to 4 rating. And what we can do is you can make this real small. And yeah, it's just a really quick way to digest the data without having to pick apart each 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's it for built-in rules for conditional formatting. We did, the highlight cell rules, greater than, less than, if equals. We did top, bottom rules. We showed you what data bars look like, color scales, and kind of how you can use that to your advantage to kind of tell a story, and icon sets to quickly communicate data. So we're going to go over to the spreadsheet here. We're going to go over 3 kind of deeper examples. And what we call this is a custom new formatting rule. So what we can do is, like I just showed you, I'll do it again for redundancy. We'll go into conditional formatting and create a new rule. What we can do is format cells based on their values that contain top, bottom, like I showed you, above or below average, and duplicates and uniques. So these can get redundant to the built-in rules they have, but they're great if you want to have full control over what those rules are. So we'll do a 3-color scale. We'll make the minimum be the lowest value and the maximum be the highest value naturally. We will say, hey, dark blue, lighter blue, and very light blue. And now we know which stock levels we really need to attend to, these darker blue ones. Okay, so now let's pretend we got an assignment from our boss. She said, identify books that are at risk. So essentially, if our demand is greater than our max stock, then it's at risk. Or if our max stock is less than demand. Same thing. So if max stock is less than demand, we're at risk. If not, we're okay. If D2 is less than that, we're at risk. So we're okay here because our demand's less than. These could be risky because our demand exceeds our stocking level. So now we're going to, like always, make these straight values, not more, no more formulas in this sheet. This is going to be a static analysis. And what we can do is we can go into conditional formatting. We can add a new rule. So forget these. Let's get used to making a new rule. And format only cells that contain. So now you can do cell value, so for numbers, specific text. You can do dates, blanks, errors, and more. You can also do a lot of comparative values. So we're going to do a specific text that contains. We can also do an array of options if it ends with, begins with. We want to say if it contains the word risk, format it red. I typically only really change my conditional formatting to fill because it's usually just for quick signals. I can't think of a case where I've had to get very decorative with our conditional formatting, but you can dress it up and do anything you really want in here. And anything at risk will turn red. So now we can quickly assess what items we might have to rethink our stocking strategies for. However, what if we didn't want this helper column to begin with? What if we just wanted this table to highlight any ISBN that were at risk? We don't want to add this extra step in. Well, that's possible. And this is the last main lesson of a conditional formatting. And this is using a formula to determine which cells to format. So essentially, we're going to say, formula always starts with equal when D2 is less than E2. However, we want it to be fixed within the column, and we want the twos to be able to change. So we're gonna Put a $sign in front of the E and D to make sure the formula knows we stay in these columns, but we won't in front of the 2's because we want that to be able to move. I'm going to hit enter. Now I'm going to format it with a red fill. So now I'm going to hit OK. As you can see, I quickly highlighted which ISBNs are at risk without adding in this extra column. I used a formula to conditionally format. Now, the last real lesson would be managing rules. So you can manage rules based off current selection of this worksheet. I typically do this worksheet because the current selection can kind of be a little tricky. You don't know if you're selecting the whole range. And now we can see which ones we're working with. We did the color scale for this. Cells that contain risk over here. And this is a formula rule. So, as you can see, conditional formatting gives us a lot of power. You never really have to hand pick or comb through data. You let the computer do it for you based off certain criteria and conditions. Thank you guys very much for joining us, and I'm excited to see what we can do next.